Today I'm going to teach you how to make a buttercream cake look like it's covered in fondant. In my experience, most people love the taste of buttercream, but they want their cake to look like it's covered in fondant. I ran a successful home-based bakery for about 10 years, so I perfected my art and learned exactly how people liked their cakes. The first thing you have to do is let your cake cool completely. Then you're going to put a crumb coat on it. This is just a very thin layer of icing. The next step is where the magic happens. You have to use Viva paper towels. You can use other forms of paper towels, but they're going to leave a print on your cake. Viva is the only smooth paper towel. Now this has to be used with a crusting buttercream. I'll give you the recipe if you want it. You let your cake sit with the icing on it for about 5 minutes, and then you're going to come back with a steady hand and your Viva paper towel. You're going to use smooth, small, circular hand motions. And after you rub it down that first time, you're going to let it sit for another 5 minutes. And then you're going to come back with a fresh Viva paper towel and do the same thing that you did previously. You are going to be amazed at how smooth your cake turns out. All right, now I'm doing the second layer, and you can see from start to finish. I'm putting the crumb coat on first. The crumb coat needs to be a very thin layer of icing. You'll smooth that out as good as you can with your knife, and then you're going to let that sit for just a few minutes. You are going to smooth this layer of buttercream out with a Viva, but this layer is not nearly as important as the next layer. On this one, on the crumb coat, you're really just pressing that icing in to get it flat to the cake. Don't get discouraged. This takes a little bit of practice to have a steady hand and to get it just right. I didn't learn this overnight either. Next, I'm going to put a pretty big glob of icing on the top, and then I'm going to smooth that out, paying much more attention to how smooth I get it with my knife because this is the outer layer of icing. I will smooth it out and make it as even as possible. There's really no way to make it completely even because it's icing. I mean, it's going to clump in some places, but just do the best you can to get it as smooth as possible. Once you have that smoothed out, you will do exactly the same thing as you did with the first layer. You're going to let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then you're going to come back in with your Viva, a smooth, dry hand, steady, circular motions. Now, you might notice that the Viva sticks to some places, and that's because the icing's not completely dry. Just trust the process and keep going, because you're going to let it sit right now for 5 more minutes. And when you come back again, that icing, even in the little places that stood up, they're going to lay down perfectly fine. If you have a couple places that don't lay down, let it sit for another 5 minutes and come back again and try. Now, I didn't show you this piece of fondant that I put on the top. I did do that brown paint palette in fondant. I could have done it in icing, but I was trying to save time, so I cut that out, and I made this paint cake. Now, the next thing that I want to show y'all is what a difference the border makes. All right, you see how the cake looks unfinished, uneven. It just doesn't look good without the border. I'm going to come in and just do little dots around it. Of course, you can use any kind of border that you want to, but it makes all the difference in the world. So you put your border all around the cake, and then again, since this is a crusting buttercream, you're going to let it sit for 5 minutes. And then you're going to come back with a dry finger, and you're just going to pat those down to get the little tip off of your border. And then there you have it. It looks like it's covered in fondant, and it's very pretty. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.